So last in our last class, what we had covered, we had covered about overview on Amazon RDS and lots of features and functionality. We discussed about Amazon RDS. Also, we saw the hands-on how to create the Amazon RDS instance and use that through CLI as well as through API, right? Using the PHP application, how we can use the RDS endpoint to connect the database and all. So all those things we already have covered in our last two classes. So today we'll just learn the advanced one, like the disaster recovery thing, like multi-SZ availability, and also we'll discuss about the replica, which will be used for faster recovery of your data. Okay, so how we can use those things in our work and in your database functionality. So let's see first understand what exactly the disaster recovery for multi-SZ disaster recovery as well as the replica for faster recovery of data. So those two things first we'll see. For faster performance, we'll go for replica, and for disaster recovery, we'll use multi-SZ, okay, multiple availability shown. So what this multi-SZ allows you to have an exact copy of your production database in another availability zone. AWS handles the replication for you. So when your production database is written to, this write will automatically be synchronized to the standby database. So as I said from the beginning, right? Amazon RDS is a fully managed service provided by Amazon, right? So this kind of multi-SZ for disaster recovery, you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to bother about anything. Everything will be taken care by them. Only you have to choose the disaster recovery plan. That's all. So once you choose, AWS itself will take exact copy of productions database frequently based on the time interval you set up. Okay, and it handles the replications for you. So your production database is written to and automatically synchronized. So your data, whatever will be there in the primary database, will automatically get synced with your secondary database. In case of any disaster happen with your primary database, your secondary database will be ready to serve the customer. Okay, so that's a good feature and functionality being provided by Amazon RDS. The other one is, in the event of planned DB maintenance, DB instance failure, or any AG failure, Amazon RDS will automatically fail over to the standby so that database operations can resume quickly without any DB intervention. So we don't need any DBA, like database administrator, to work on the recovery of your data or recovery of your database. It will be automatically being fell down to your secondary database in case of anything. Okay, so that is what the multi-SZ does. So here you can see we have suppose 3 instances there, and we have a load balancer there. And within the 3 instances, we have connected to the primary database, which is on the AP South 1A, and the secondary database is in our AP South 1B. Okay, so one second, guys. Let me just correct this. AP South 1A and AP South 1B. So what happens here in the backend, the applications, whatever will be running on the EC2 instances or any on-premises servers, what will happen? It will be pointing to our primary database, and in the behind, AWS will manage the replications for you. If our database and the availability zone will be taken care by the AWS itself. Okay, so we don't worry about the secondary database at all. Now, what is the read replica? Read replica allow you to have a read-only copy of your production database. This is achieved by using asynchronous replication from the primary RDS instance to the read replica. So what this means? Asynchronous replication from the primary DB instance to the read replica. So when you use this read replica, what will happen? The read replica allow you to have a read-only copy of your production database. So this is actually a very good feature whenever you have an application which is facing a huge audience, right? Huge customers are like your products trading application, any kind of trading application which is being used globally, right? And you need your database, right? Retrieval from the database should be faster. Within the millisecond, the data should be retrieved and reflected into the database. So whenever a customer seeing your database, if he is not doing any transaction, only fetching some record or viewing something, then what will happen? It will get access or get fetched the data from the read-only copy. That database will not have read and write, both read and write, only read-only copy. This is achieved by using asynchronous replication from the primary DB instance to the read replica. So this asynchronous replication will be performed by AWS itself. You don't have to do anything. The primary RDS instance to the read replica instance, it will automatically get synced in the form of asynchronous replication. We use read replica primarily for very read-heavy database workload. So what kind of database or what kind of application is read-heavy databases? If you think about the Twitter, right? If you think about the Twitter database, most of the people are reading, right? And most of the guys also writing to that. If you think about some newspaper, okay, what they will be doing, they will be just using the database for reading purpose, right? You are not allowed to write anything into that. You will only read the database. So that time you don't have to necessarily give write permissions to the database, and only the read heavy database workload. In that case, we use the read replica. So what happens here? Read replica used for scaling, not for disaster recovery. For auto scaling, read replica can be used, but not for disaster recovery. Must have automatic backup turned on in order to deploy a read replica. So if you don't have your backup turned on, then you will not get the read replica, because when you turn on the backup, AWS will do automatic synchronization for you. These automatic synchronizations will help for the read replica to deploy. Understood, right? If you don't turn on the backup, AWS will not back up your data and will not create any read replica for you. We can have up to 5 read replica copies of any database. Read replica copies of your database. So just read replica, think about in your database, if you have some ideas. We have a view table, right? We have a view. So for view, what we can do, we can only read the data from the database. Okay? We cannot write anything, only view. Similarly, in case of RDS also, we have Amazon provides read replica, which gives only read copies, and we can create up to 5 read replica copies. Each read replica will have its own DNS endpoint. Suppose we create 3 read replicas, and those 3 read replicas will have its own DNS endpoint. So what is the DNS endpoint? The DNS endpoint is the URL or the host name or the endpoint or port where you have to connect. You need to connect your DB instance. Using the endpoint, we can connect to our DB instance. So whenever we create 3 read replica, we'll have, see, this is the primary DB instance. This is the primary DB instance. If we'll have a secondary DB instance, then it will have a name of secondary, or it will have a different name based on your what you provide. Similarly, for read replica also, we'll have 4, suppose read replica, then we'll have 4 endpoints, including 1 primary DB endpoint or DB instance endpoint. Okay. Now, if we go here, so what it says, we can have read replica in multi-availability zone. Yes, for disaster recovery and read replica, we can keep it in multi-availability zone. We can create read replica of multi-AG source database. We can have read replica in a second region also. If you want to keep the read replica in secondary region or second region, like if you have your primary databases and one replica is in Mumbai region, and if you want to keep it in Singapore region, that functionality or that feature also available in that. Okay, so if you see this diagram here, okay, we have this Amazon RDS read replica 1. So one, it is there, suppose one primary database, right? This is the primary database. Okay, what will happen here? This primary database has access both. If I just increase this one, you can see here, this primary database is having both read and write access. However, this read replica is having only read access. Suppose, let's see an example here. Suppose festive seasons, right? In Amazon, suppose commercial e-commerce site, suppose customers are just, if there is some offers or something, they're viewing heavily the products in the Amazon sites. Until unless they buy anything, it will not use the primary database, but as the data will be viewed quickly or faster from the read replica. And whatever the things are being written or being changed over here in the primary database will automatically being replicated to our read replica, production read replica. So the clients, we can easily read the data faster than viewing the data from the primary database. So obviously, if there is some read write options or input output is getting heavily being used for primary database, obviously from fetching some records or accessing it will take some time, because the database being busy being writing the data or transactions into the databases. That's why the read replica helps us to provide a read-only copy so that we will not disturb our primary instances. Our primary instances will be freed and busy to serve the transactions, whatever being made by the customer. Okay, so from this diagram, you can easily understand how it works. Similarly, we can have 5 similar read replicas for the one instance. We can keep it. Suppose we have one primary DB instance, similar, we can keep around 5 read replicas for that production database. Okay, so that's all about the read replicas and how it works. So we'll have the lab for both multi-AG as well as read replica. We'll see how it can be done. Okay, now before moving to the read replica, let me finish theoretical about all the other functionality of this. Okay, then we'll move to do one lab class. So there is one concept is called elastic cache. Elastic cache, one of the services there. What is this elastic cache? Elastic cache is a web service that makes it easy to deploy, operate, and scale in-memory cache in the cloud. The service improves the performance of web application by allowing you to retrieve information from past managed in-memory cache instead of relying entirely on disk-based database. So when we talk about in-memory cache, right? Whenever it's very simple, guys. I'm not going to spend more time on this elastic cache and all. That is not being more used, but I'm just giving some hints and some knowledge and basics on the elastic cache just to remember it. Okay, and if there's something comes in the interview or something, you can at least answer it. So elastic cache, as you already being used, right? Any web browser, right? Chrome or Firefox or whatever, you'll be seeing, right? If all these data, whatever you've been entered, right? For any transactions, for any email account or for any your bank account or anything you do, it will automatically get cached into the browser, right? And whenever next time we just visit and just type, it will automatically get inserted there, and we don't have to unnecessarily type in or do that, right? So in-memory cache being provided by, if you are using the RDS, right? You don't have to necessarily worry about the data being fetched. Sometimes elastic cache will automatically get you all the data. That's why it again makes it very faster retrieval of data. So you don't have to entirely dependent on your database, right? That's where you have to use the elastic cache. So elastic cache has two open source caching engine being provided. One is the Memcached and another one is the Redis. So when we use this elastic cache to increase database and web application performance. Whenever you need to increase your database and web application performance, and that time you should go with elastic cache, either you go for Memcached and Redis. Okay, so there could be a question comes when you should use this Memcached and Redis, where it is being used whenever you need to increase your performance of your database and web application, then we should go with Memcached or Redis, any one of these service. Okay, and there are two differences here. Okay, for Memcached and Redis, I've just given it here. Simple cache to offload database, both supports. And here, if you see multi-threaded performance, Memcached supports, but Redis does not support. Similarly, if you go for advanced data type, or if you go with Redis, most of the things, if you see, Redis being provided supports. Okay, persistence, multi-AG, backup and restore capabilities, pub and sub capabilities, ranking, sorting data sets, everything is being supported by Redis. However, Memcached only supports these three. Okay, so that's why Redis is popular in case of in-memory cache engine. This is the in-memory cache engine being used for, to increase the performance of your database and web application. Okay, and that's about the in-memory engines and in-memory where we use. Next, we'll discuss about the data migration service. What is this data migration service? And whenever you go to work in any organizations, there must you see about migrations, right? Whether it is application migration or database migration or any code migration or anything, right? So whenever we talk about the database migrations, and we are working on the cloud, and if you are migrating your on-premises database to the cloud, that time we'll see the migrations happens, or from cloud of, if you are already used from one cloud to another cloud, migrations, right? And if you're using one engine, database engine in RDS, suppose you're using Oracle and you want to migrate to MySQL, that time we'll use this data migration service of AWS. Okay, so what this data migration service provides? AWS data migration service is a cloud service that makes it easy to migrate relational databases, data warehouses, NoSQL databases, and other type of data stores. So it supports both relational databases, data warehouse, NoSQL databases, and different other type of data stores also. We can use DMS to migrate our data into AWS cloud between on-premises instances or between combination of cloud and on-premises. As I was telling you, so both these instances from cloud to cloud, from on-premises to cloud, both those things we can use this DMS to migrate the database. Okay, and we'll see how it works, the DMS. Okay, how the DMS works. DMS is a server in the AWS cloud that runs replication software. So it is actually server, cloud server being provided by AWS is a replication software. We need to create source and target connection to tell the DMS where to extract from and where to load. So what happens here, if you see this diagram here, we have a source DB and we have a target DB. And in this source DB, we have to just provide the source endpoint, and the target DB, we have to just provide the target endpoint, and the software will do the task for you. So the replication instance, whatever the instance you want to replicate, so the replication task, there is, as it says, it is a replication software. So it will automatically, based on the source database and target database ng. Suppose it is Oracle and it is MySQL. What it will do, it will get all the schema being retained for the Oracle schemas. It will automatically convert to the MySQL schema or SQL schema, and then create the DB and insert the records for you. Automatically it get converted. Similarly, if you are using any kind of MariaDB or any kind of NoSQL databases to SQL databases, the replication software will automatically convert the schemas for you to the corresponding resource or target DB instance schema, and then migrate everything. So what happens here, the AWS DMS create the tables and the associated primary key. If they do not exist on the target, we can create the tables manually, or we can use the schema conversion tool. As I told, to convert the schema, it is actually what this AWS DMS being used. We can use the schema conversion tool to create the target tables, indexes, views, triggers, etc. Because without the schema, without the table, and without the indexes, primary key, views, triggers, whatever is there, we cannot migrate those things, or we cannot transfer the data from one database to another database. Now, there are two types of DMS migrations. Just remember, guys, these things we may get the things over here. Okay, may get questions. So there are two types of migrations happens, actually homogeneous migration and heterogeneous migration. So what is homogeneous migration and what is heterogeneous migration? The homogeneous migration is very simple. It is being migrating to identical databases like Oracle to Oracle, MySQL to MySQL, MariaDB to MariaDB, or Postgres to PostgreSQL, right? If you're going to migrate those things, so homogeneous, same identical database you are migrating. So in this case, schema conversion tool is not required. What happened here? The schema conversion tool is not required. So why it is not required is very simple, because the same schema, whatever is being designed for Oracle, and same thing will be used in the another Oracle database. We don't have to necessarily convert it. It's not required. But in case of heterogeneous migrations, migrating to different databases, schema conversion tool is required. Okay. In this case, if you see this diagram over here, Oracle to Amazon Aurora, your MySQL to Amazon Aurora, whatever you are converting it, we need a schema conversion tool to convert the schema being used for the source DB to the target DB. Simple, guys, right? Two different databases, we must need the conversion tool, schema conversion tool, to convert the schema, and it is a piece of software, okay, being used to convert the schemas. Now, if you see this diagram over here, suppose I have a database on premises. And this is actually the EC2 instances running DMS and schema conversion tool, data migration service and schema conversion tool being installed and being running on the EC2 instances. So we have to target this on premises to, this will be your source DB and that will be suppose your targeted DB. Then we have to use both these things. And here the note is given, we do not need schema conversion tool if we are migrating to identical databases. They may ask you a question trickily or something, they twist the question and they can ask you. And that time you have to remember these things for identical databases. We don't need a schema conversion tool to convert the schemas. Okay, so that's what we need to do the schema conversions tools and what. So let's do the lab classes, whatever we learned so far, and see how it can be done. Okay, first we'll see about the multi-AZ and see how it can be done. Now, for multi-AZ,
hello sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in homogeneous migration, it's used in which scenarios? Means our database, suppose Oracle, and why we choose another database? Give some example actually.
Yeah. So okay, that's very good thing. If we are using suppose Oracle in on-premises, right, and you are going to migrate to cloud, and when you are migrating to cloud and there also you are using Oracle, right? For that time you don't have to use schema conversion tool. Your question is good, because you are saying like when we are using Oracle, why you want to migrate to Oracle? Obviously, if you are using on-premises, you no need to migrate to Oracle because already being Oracle. But you are migrating from on-premises to cloud. We are talking about the cloud, right? So cloud to on-premises or on-premises to cloud, that time we need, in case of homogeneous, we don't need schema conversion tool, right? There we can migrate, right? From on-premises to cloud. Understood, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So this kind of things actually, so we have to just remember and what exactly we have to do and how you have to perform it. Okay. Now, if we see here, and I think we had for a backup and all, right, maintenance and backups, we had any backups, automated backup was disabled. Okay. Now, as I said here, right, let me, what I'll do, I'll show you one good things over here. Suppose as from the beginning classes, we saw that RDS is free and up to 750 hours of EC2 instances versus DB instances being running is completely free, and up to some 20 GB or 20 GB of data and actually free, right? So we have to be careful whenever you are using. So if I just select this database and just go here and stop temporarily, right? What I'll do, if I stop this database, what it says, you are stopping this DB instance for up to 7 days. So it is giving only up to 7 days you can stop. You can restart the DB instance manually at any time within these 7 days. If you don't start your database within the 7 days, what happens? It will automatically start after the 7 days. To stop the DB instance permanently, save it in a snapshot and delete it. Okay. What happens? If you think, so in this scenario, right, how and when to use actually? Let me just give you 2 real-time examples. When you use temporarily stop the database and when you permanently stop the databases, right? Temporarily, in case of you, suppose you have an application which is actually in the market being targeted by the customer, suppose in the weekend only, and you have a business which being like, suppose in our class, think about our Malimblue Technologies, the class is going on, and we have a database which is being all the course materials being uploaded there, or all the things, whatever they're being using there, right? And we are using this weekend only. And that weekend, and we have to start the databases to do some exercises. That time I can go for this temporarily stopping the databases like I did it in our last classes, last Saturday, Sunday, we are doing the demo and I stopped this database and today morning I started it. Okay, so today morning I started it. So what happens here? Temporarily I stopped the databases. So when we go for permanent stopping, suppose you have a business going on and you have created a databases for that. And your business went down and you're not going to use those data anymore. You can go and permanently, but you are not sure when you come back to the databases. When you come back, that means you cannot come back. Suppose there is no point, no chance of coming back within the 7 days. Then you may need for 1 month of stopping the database, 2 months, 1 year. For that, what you need, you don't have to keep the databases unnecessarily. What you'll do, you'll take a snapshot of the database, then delete the primary database. Then delete the primary database. So what will happen? Your snapshot will have all copies of your databases, all the copies of your databases, right? Whenever you need your data back and start working, all your data will be available there. Got the exact point when to go for permanently delete or permanently stop the database and temporarily stop the database. If you're going to stop, you have to acknowledge the DB instance and will restart automatically after 7 days on the, suppose if I do today, October 1st today, and October 8th at this time, it will automatically get restarted. And if you want to permanently stop it, just save the DB instance in a snapshot, then delete the database itself. Okay, so we can do both the ways. And this is a task. I'm not going to do it here. This is a simple task for you to take and do that, and take these examples and do the task at home. Okay, this is a homework for you. Now I'm not.
Hello, sir. Suppose we create a snapshot and we want to recover from the snapshot. This means it's the same way like when we are taking the EC2 instance to back up the EC2 instance.
Exactly the same way we can create the database from the snapshot also.
Means that means we have to create IAM from the snapshot. Sorry, AIM.
AIM is not required. AIM is not required. See, okay. Here 2 points Jyoti comes, right? See, snapshot and IAM. You're talking about AMI. Snapshot and AMI. So snapshot, from the snapshot itself, you can create the volume. I'm talking about EC2, not database now. I'll just talk about EC2 first. So as you said, AMI, that's why I'm talking about EC2. So in case of EC2, what was happening? We can both the text snapshot of the volume and then create AMI. Okay, so AMI we can directly use to create the new instances, whatever was already being used, the old one, and we can create a new instances from the existing software and existing OS, whatever it is. But in case of snapshot, whatever you are taking, right, the snapshot, you can use that snapshot to create a volume itself. In case of EC2, we don't have to necessarily create AMI. If it is required to create AMI, that class is what I was showing, how to create AMI from the snapshot. Okay, it's not necessary that if you're taking the snapshot, you have to create the AMI. Don't get confused on that. Okay, that's two different usage of snapshot and AMI, totally different. I was showing you if you're going to create AMI, how you can create the AMI from the snapshot. Okay, snapshot being used for a different use cases, AMI will be used for a different use cases. If you have already an EC2 instances running created, and you have taken a snapshot, EC2 snapshot or volume snapshot, and you want to, whenever you attach another volume or create a volume, and you can use that snapshot to create the volume, EBS volume, and you can add that EBS volume to the, attach that EBS volume to the EC2 instance. That is the one use cases. For AMI, for image, AMI means immersion machine image, right? For the image, if you want to create a separate new instances completely out of that snapshot and out of that images, whatever you packed, then you can go with AMI. Okay, that's two different use cases. And in this case, DB instance is totally different. You have to only, you can only create or recover the databases from the snapshot. You cannot use in EC2 or you cannot use anywhere these instances. Okay, you can restore or the database or DB instance directly from the snapshot, whatever you have taken. I'll show you. I'm not going to take now. I'll show you how to take that one. We have other options also. Okay. Now let me cancel it. So if I just open, see, here we can see we have a query editor also, right? Currently, the query editor only supports Aurora serverless database. So if you're using Aurora, then you can go with query editor. So that's why currently query editor only supports Aurora serverless database. Okay, I don't need this, leave it. So fine. So we can take the snapshots as I was telling, we can take the snapshot, go here and take a snapshot. Okay, click on this and choose the DB instance. So I have the DB instance, MindDB. Give a snapshot name. So what happens here? Snapshot identifier is case insensitive. Okay, before taking this snapshot, let me show you. I'll just do a small graph that you can understand clearly. Okay, let me go here and we have one DB instances. Okay, and we don't have any snapshots. Let's go ahead and connect this database. Okay, let's go ahead and connect this database. Control C here, and this time let me connect. Okay, from I need to get my EC2 instances back, right? Okay, I should have opened the EC2 instances. Let me quickly go and start one of the EC2 instances. And I think MySQL was installed in my terminal, but it's being removed, I think, so that I'm not able to. From your terminal itself, from your local laptop also, you can connect to the RDS instances. Okay, no worries. Start. Okay. So I think MySQL, I started MySQL on my local laptop. In my MacBook, I started the MySQL. Okay. Now let me connect from here itself. Let me connect from my laptop itself, whether we can connect it or not. Let me get my endpoint. So we need this endpoint to get connected. So what is the command? We will use MySQL -h, provide the server name, and -p 3306 -u. So what was the, it was db admin, right? db admin -p. Enter. Okay, MySQL command smart. Let me do MySQL status. MySQL is running, but it's still not fine. There should be something I'm missing with MySQL. MySQL. So what I can do here, I can just use Control C. Yes. So I have to use the absolute path, right? Total complete path in order to get it. So I have not fixed these things in my machine, so I'll do it later. So we can use this MySQL. This MySQL executable is under this one, and then I have not set the path set up for this MySQL. Okay, that's why it was not working. Now, if I gave the password like good, see here we can able to connect to the databases from the laptop itself. Okay, so if I do so databases, and we have this my databases available here, and I can use this my databases here. My data, yes, use my database. Same thing. So sorry. So we had select start from user. We had a table, right? See, these things are still there. Okay, so I was showing the data is still there. We have two tables, right? So tables. If I do so tables, we have two the tables, candidate, and one is the user. Now, what do we do? Let's take a snapshot of the database. Okay, let's go ahead and take a snapshot of the database. So I don't need starting the EC2 instances. Now I can connect from my local laptop itself. Okay, so let me take a snapshot here. Take a snapshot. Select the database. So MyDB is the instance name. Okay, and what do we do? The snapshot name. I can take MyDB snapshot. MyDB snapshot. I'll take as MyDB snapshot. Okay, take the snapshot here. Take the snapshot. So it will take some time, guys, to the snapshot being ready. Okay, so let's see. The progress is 0%. It is still says as creating. Okay, so let me refresh this page. Still progress 0%. I think it will take more time. It's not take more time because we don't have more data, right? Only one record, two tables, and 2 to 3 records only there. So it should not take more time. Let me just refresh one more time. It should be quickly checked. Still 0%, right? So snapshot type is DB instance, and the storage. See, the storage is 20 gigabytes, right? This is the 20 gigabyte is the it comes under the free tier, right? So if you are using this Amazon RDS 20 gigabyte are giving free, and if you are giving the database size 20 gigabyte, then it is giving 20 gigabyte of storage free, right? So I have this storage type GP2. 1 second. So let's refresh it. Still taking time. So let it be run. By the time we can just go ahead and see about automated backup. So we don't have any automated backup currently. We don't have any automated backup. Now we will see how the automatic backup will be on, right? When we created, right? When we created the DB instances, that time we had not selected the automated backup. Now, what we can do, we can go ahead and modify the database in order to take the backup automatically, right? Let's go to the database here, and we have the snapshot. It says 1, right? Now it says 1. Let's go ahead and see whether the database is created. I think it is created. Okay, the database progress is completed. It's available now. Our database is available now, right? So what I can do here, let me go ahead. If I select this database, you can go, sorry, select this snapshot. If I go action, and you can see here, we have restored the snapshot option is there, right? We can restore the snapshot and create the database. And here, if you want to save this snapshot into the Amazon S3 storage, you can do that by clicking this export to Amazon S3. And you have to select the bucket and store the snapshot and delete the snapshot from here. There you can store the snapshot. Okay. Now, let me quickly, I'll do a demo, and the rest of the demo I'll give to you to do at your home today. Okay. Now let me go ahead and delete the database. So we saw our database is having those records. Let's see if I delete and restore from the snapshot, whether those data will be, because these are the real-time scenarios, real-time work, what we do in our database. Though in our case, it is only very minimal 0.0001 data available, and we are doing a very small databases, right? But in your real-time organizations, it will be huge. And you have to work accordingly. You have to work accordingly, right? Now let me delete this database. Okay, create final snapshot. So it is, again, it is asking to create a final snapshot also. Suppose what happened? By the time I took the snapshot, suppose 10 minutes before, within this 10 minutes to now, the time the database gets deleted, whatever the transactions might have happened, right? That may impact it, right? So that's why you have to, while deleting, you should take the create final snapshot. So I don't need this one because we don't have that much data being used. And another thing is actually the productions level 2R. We never ever take snapshots until without stopping the database. Whenever you take the snapshot, remember guys, this is very useful in real time. If you're working on dev areas, production support, or any automations, you must know without stopping the database, no organizations take the snapshot. I have been worked with this database backups and all for almost 6 years. I was working in this designing and architecturing and all this. And all the time we had my previous organizations, we had 6 to 7 snapshots we used to take every interval. And all these 7 snapshots, whenever we take, we'll have the database to stop and then take the snapshot. Okay, so these are the interval of time before that, and you'll be thinking whenever we stop the database, suppose 7 times you're taking the snapshot and 7 times you're stopping the database. And the database, what will happen? The database, the customers will be impacted, right? So the snapshot is being not taken from the primary database. It's being taken from other databases, which is synced with the primary database. So data is being synced to the databases, and that databases will be taken from that database. The snapshot will be taken from that. The primary database will be still there. Okay, so that way we have to work it. Now let me quickly go ahead and delete this database. I'll just delete it. Acknowledge. We strongly recommend if final, it gives me delete me, right? Delete me. So whatever it gives, delete me. You have to type delete me, then if you. So it is strongly recommended to take the final snapshot, as we don't have any data, and also we can go ahead and delete it. But this you should take final snapshot and do that. Delete. We have already a database. A snapshot is taken. Okay. So just wait for a few seconds. It's still deleting, and because whatever is easy things to do, right? Everything you can do at your home. I'm not going to waste further time to do that. This is the one example or demo. I'm just showing you the other things actually. Let me show you what are things is tasked for you to do. I'll show you the read replica things, how you'll take the read replica. And remember, for read replica, you must have to switch in the automated backup. You must have to switch in the automated backup in order to take the read replica, right? So that I'll show you how to take the read replica. And this database and also this cassette things and this database migration, right? This database migrations, we cannot perform it as I don't have a database on premises available. Also, it is a task. What you can do, I'll just guide you how you'll do. Install a small database on your local laptop. Okay, it is required lots of networking, lots of things to set off. As we don't have anything available, you need to understand this concept. Okay, if you can do, I would suggest you guys to start doing. I'll show you how you can use it, but I'll not do for fun. I'll do it. I'll give you a task to do this data migration services. 3 things I'll just show you. 2, 1 I'll demo. I'll do it. Other 2 demo. Whatever things you do practice at your home, and let me know if you get any issues or any doubt. Okay. Let's see whether it is getting deleted or not. Still deleting. So once it gets completely deleted, then we'll restore the snapshot. Then we'll restore the snapshot, right? So let's go ahead and check the snapshot. We have the snapshot is available to use, right? It is available. Wait for a few seconds. Let's see. I'm still deleting. I'm muting this and we will wait for a few seconds, okay? Okay, so let it be deleted. So what we'll see, once this database is completed, right? What we'll done, we'll just go ahead and learn about the VPC, which was the last thing pending, and that will cover the VPC things first, and we'll cover the completely VPC, and then we'll move into the Ansible and Terraform, right? Terraform and Ansible. Let me see if it's from the second batch joined. So Mandar, we have this Jenkins is not completed, right? Only few things we have completed in Jenkins, still pending the rest of the thing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll try to finish this Jenkins first, and then we'll move into the other things. Okay, maybe we have to stop this batch, first batch for 1 week, and then we'll complete Jenkins for you guys, and we'll combine together. So what happened to Amit today? He didn't join?
Joined.
Okay. Let me speak with them.
Okay, he joined, but maybe left after that.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine. Okay, so what we can see here, okay, it's deleted successfully. The database is now deleted successfully. Now we don't have any database found, right? So if you see here, we don't have any database found here. See, now let's go ahead to the snapshot and restore the database. So that is the functionality and uses of the snapshot. In case of any disaster happened, your database terminated by accidentally. you can immediately recover your database from the snapshot. Okay, now select this snapshot, go ahead, restore the snapshot. Okay, so same thing, you have to use this DB engine. So suppose MySQL committee DB, and you have to provide the same thing like DB instance identifier, like I can give my DB, same thing. And same thing, you have to go again, do not create a standby instance, that's fine. Default VPC and all, public access, this doesn't public, so I'll give yes. And VPC default one, availability to no preference. So additional configurations you can see here, DB instance classes and all these things, storage type and database authentication, password authentication, that's okay. And additional configurations, we have to turn on the backup to see the read replica. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn on the backup. So maintenance, delete, protection and all. So go ahead, and where is the backup things? I left it somewhere. Public access, subnet, connectivity, do not stand by. It should be option like to select the automated backup. Okay, maybe. Okay, so backup is there. Backup copy tags to snapshot. Let's first restore it and then we'll modify it. Okay, then go ahead and restore the DB instance. See, from the snapshot, I'm going to restore the database. Okay, so again, it will take few minutes to get restored completely and the database to available to use. Just wait for a few seconds again. Let's get refreshed. And guys, one thing you might have noticed here, right? While restoring the DB, the thing I selected is the size is DB M5 X large. M5 X large. It will cost me a huge amount. Okay, I should use T2 micro or T2 storage class, right? Instead, I did not see that one. I used M5 X large, which will cost me more. Let's create quickly, and after the demo, I'll just delete it. I should have go for T2. I did not notice this one. Okay, so be careful whenever you're doing practice and demo. So always title db T2. Okay, go to with db.t2 classes. Otherwise, you have to pay more for that, right? Let's refresh. It's still okay. It's now modifying it. Okay, so it will get converted. Okay, so we can see here now the database is available. Let me quickly go ahead and connect to the database and see whether we can able to connect this database or not. Okay, so if I go here the terminal and see here, let me, okay, anyway, it will be, if I go and sure, same MyDB and the details available here for the things to connect. Okay, let me go here and you can see here the same endpoint CCVT and WIFEN. Okay, so you can see here the same things are available here. Now, if I go and ahead and hit enter, let me give the password. Hit enter. What we did, whether we selected this DB admin or the user, I think while recreating from the snapshot, we did not create anything, right? Okay, I forgot to create the user and password. As I selected create user ID and password, but I forgot to create this user and password. Okay, fine. So this is how, guys, you can just go ahead and do, like I just terminated it because the user ID and password I am not, while restoring it, I could not create it. Okay, fine. Now what you can do, let me go ahead and quickly modify this and we can select the automated backup and there I will see how the read replicas can be created. Okay, so here we can set up the password. Okay, I can set up the password now here. New master password. The password is now was not given, so I can use this password to create. So I can do that, but I'm not going to do now. Let's go ahead. So what I'm going to do is to select the automated backup, right? Go to the storage. I can change the storage class. I can change the storage class now, right? You can change to db.t2. It's not coming. Oh, yeah, it's T2 is not coming. Okay, fine. I use the standard classes, right? Should be bustable, right? Should be bustable. T3 micro. Fine. Go ahead and be careful whenever you are creating the connectivity, database authentication, password, additional, and backups. Here, enable automated backup is being selected. Select I selected 0, that's now this, so I can select 7 days, the backup retention period, and all these things you can do that. Okay, then continue. Okay, so better, let me change the password also, new password. Okay. But I could not see anywhere the username it is asking. I think the same username will be used here. So I changed the password here. Now let's go ahead and continue. Modify DB instance. So it is very quick, successfully modified. But still it is not reflected. Okay. Still it is not reflected. Still using the size M5. Okay. You can see here the status, it resetting the master credential. Okay. Master credential is getting resetted. Just wait for a few seconds here. And this is how you can modify a DB instance. If you want to change something, if you see like whatever things based on the requirement, you have to choose the specifications, right? And if you need in future, if you don't need this particular size and suppose you need some extra performance, some extra storage, extra CPU, extra performance related things, then you have to go with that particular classes size and classes, right? And if you don't, maybe if you want to decrease it, then you have to go ahead and modify and decrease it. So this is how you have to work on the databases and the DB instances. Okay. Now let's go ahead. Another task for you is to,
Sir,
I showed you, yeah.
Sir, can we say like this? This is the vertical scaling. Just you change the instant type, DB instant type.
You can say it is a vertical scaling. Yes, obviously it will be a vertical scaling. Horizontally, we are not scaling anything, right? Horizontally, we are not scaling any databases.
We cannot scale it horizontally.
We cannot. No, we cannot scale it horizontally. Yes, we can. On this RDS, you have to use the auto scaling groove, right? In RDS, that is not, they're not providing the auto scaling options horizontally. Okay, so what you can use your auto scaling ASG group in your, we had seen all these things in your EC2 instances, right? Same things you can use for in case of your database instances or EC2 instances. If you want to horizontally increase, if you want to add another instances, that is actually for databases, it never happens. We never do that. These scalings, we actually keep it for server performance or adding new servers to that. But database, we cannot add it or we cannot increase it horizontally, right? It will impact. It will never be done. This should be done manually, right? Vertically, again, the vertically scaling also, we are not doing anything, right? We are simply manually increased this one. We did not set up anything. Okay, now we can see it is no status available, but still size is shows M5 did not reflect. Okay, fine, that's okay. I just changed the password. Let me quickly connect with the password. I see whether we can able to connect or not. No, still some issues. I think DB admin is the wrong username I'm being used. Fine, it's not able to connect. Let me terminate it. So what you do, task for you, just try to create the snapshot, modify it, and take the automated backup and see how it happens. Okay, so how you take this read replica things, I'll just show you. The replication you can see here. We have these replications available, right? MBDB and one availability zone replications 1B, right? Now, if you see here, go to the maintenance and backup. So here backup, automated backup is disabled, it's still not created. The replicate to region is not done. Fine. So as automated backup has not been done. So from the primary, what you do from the snapshot, don't take anything here. So what you can do from the primary database, whenever you create, switch in the automated backup, okay, and then go with that, and you can see, right? So suppose if I go here and if you go to action and you can go for create read replica, you can see here we'll have one create read replica, okay, and you can see here it's not providing this read replica because we don't have the that it's not providing this create read replica because we have not selected the automated backup on. We have not selected the automated backup. That must be there is some minor issues, whatever, whenever we select created the database from the snapshot. What you do, the task for you, go ahead, create the primary database itself, try to find it out if you see any create read replica and make sure that automated backup is on, and try to do this click on the script create read replica and see what are the options you are finding it out and how many read replica you can create it. Okay, and we'll meet maybe tomorrow classes. We'll discuss further on this if you have any doubt or anything, or else we'll move on. Okay, that's all, guys, for today's class. Maybe we can meet up tomorrow at the same time. Okay, let me just stop this recordings.